Hello and welcome to the news roundup. As we transition into the months ending in Burr, hopefully the temperature will drop, especially where I am, which also means more staying inside and more board games. Let's see what's happening in the world of tabletop games for the week of August 31st, 2022. Back in 2019, fandom decided it wanted to be part of the world of tabletop gaming. It planned to do so using the Cortex rules set in order to make new RPGs based on many popular properties. Cortex had two major projects in the works, one for Zadia, aka the Dragon Prince, the Netflix show, the other for He-Man. Now it's decided, or at least earlier this year, didn't want to be a part of that anymore. It's been selling off what it's had in the world of tabletop gaming. The big one being right now talk about is that Direwolf Digital has gotten the rights to Cortex and the Dragon Prince RPG. So it seems that now they will be still designing it. They've said that they're still in the works and will still continue making the books for the Dragon Prince RPG. The newest one, I believe, linking between seasons 3 and 4. However, it seems the Grayskull one is in a bit of a legal limbo. So right now it's indefinitely shelved. No idea what's going to happen there. I did think earlier they also had a D&D Beyond that fandom sold back to Hasbro. I guess sold is the right word. But regardless, I don't know what's going to happen with the He-Man license because that's in many different places as well. But for those who are fans of the other RPG, I'm sure you're happy that for the Dragon Prince, that's still going on. I'm really curious to see because when I think of Direwolf Digital and the digital landscape, they do a lot of really nice specific digital versions of games. So rather than going to something like Tabletopia or Board Game Arena, where you can sort of have a large selection of games and it's more of a tabletop simulator, they design games like this is strictly designed to be Everdell. But I'm wondering if we're going to start seeing that for RPGs, like for the Dragon Prince, where it's like this is strictly designed a digital platform that makes it really easy for you to dive into this specific RPG. It will have the crits and the right dice shown at those times, but it's not going to be a simulator where you can choose your RPG. And in particular, if this does well, I'm curious to see if that's something we're going to see more of, because there are a lot of RPGs out there, and especially ones with name brands attached to them, like the Netflix shows, if we're going to see more of these ways so it's easier for people to dive in and play rather than read a much larger rule book and being able to have dice and not actually have a collection of miniatures, but maybe images that easily like, okay, for this enemy, we have it already prepared for you and the stat lines. I'm sure the DM in the background can maybe fiddle with some things as one usually does, because you may think a monster is fine for a party, but it may be very underwhelming or overwhelming, depending how your party plays. I think I like this more for the RPGs in particular, because I know sometimes it can be a little confusing, and having a digital background system working specifically for the system you're designed is pretty nice. That said, it is something that is very rigid, and when you think RPGs, usually they're not. So it's something that you have to find a way to make sure it's still very customizable, or at least enough that people feel like they can either make their own campaigns, maybe add a monster to shift stats a little bit. I'm curious to see what Direwolf Digital does with this. But for now, all we know is that if you are a fan of the Dragon Prince RPG, it's still moving forward. Grayskull, not as much. Sticking with digital games, Overboss is getting its own digital version. This actually makes perfect sense considering that the spin-off as well as the original boss monster are both based on sort of your classic video game boss monsters. Even the artwork has that pixelated style. The original board games are from Brotherwise, while the video game will be designed by Tavrox. We don't know too much more besides this. We've seen some pictures and stuff. And I mean, because the art style already matches, it looks really good. So I actually think this is the perfect game to get a digital adaptation, considering the art was almost already made to be digital. There is a Steam page right now if you want to check it out. I'm curious to see whether Boss Monster will also get one. I would definitely love that. I don't know as much about Overboss, but I know with Boss Monster, there are tons of expansions, promos, so having a digital version where it's easier to hunt everything down would be greatly appreciated. Disney and Ravensberger have teamed together in order to make a new trading card game titled Disney Lorcana. This game is having you play as the sort of archivist who can bring Disney stories to life and supposedly compete against each other. Now, they have said they're trying to rival Pokemon and Magic the Gathering, but the way I've read it said that, like, they say Magic is a great game, but it's much more competitive, while this game is going to be a bit more friendlier for the more casual audience. Now, I have seen many card games come and go, and Disney is a much bigger property, so that's going to help it a lot, but I feel the card games that have stuck around, one, it's definitely the origin of the card game helps. I think the games, weirdly enough, I feel like a lot more trading card games in America designed tend to flounder versus those made in Asian countries, because I think they enjoy the sort of gotcha, the randomness aspect of them. But the other thing is, I feel a lot of these card games that tend to live longer have a very thriving, or lack of a better, competitive scene. When I think about the ones that survive, it's going to be the ones who made people excited to go to their game store for those game nights. It's got to be the ones where people are excited that they won through the entire ladder and got some bonus packs. Those are the people who are going to be willing then to spend the extra money in the secondary market to get those fancy alternate arts, which means opening more packs, which means more money for the company. And let's be honest, this is Disney we're talking about. So if this game doesn't do fantastic numbers, I don't know how long it will last. I mean, I think that's the same thing that happened with the Transformers card game. I had a lot of fun with it, but I mean, it was by the people of Magic. You put them side by side, Transformers didn't stand a chance. So unfortunately, without seeing obviously anything of the game, I have to be pessimistic just because of what it means to enter the trading card game market. But maybe those Disney licenses are going to be big enough to attract enough people to there. And Ravensberger has plenty of solid games under their belt. So let's see if that same game design for more standalone style games will be able to be brought into the trading card game market and be able to push it enough to actually make this Lorcana the next big rival, or at least be able to stand alongside all the trading card games that already exist now. Kickstarter has always been a home to board games, and they know it. We have been able to bring so much to their platform. I think like 30%-ish or so is board games for Kickstarter, which if you think of all the different topics that are projects made, that's a lot for one little wedge to take. And because of that, they gave it a bit more attention. They recently got a new director of games, John Ritter-Roderick, to take the helm to try and steer Kickstarter and continue to gain support. Unfortunately, he's in pretty rough waters with this ship. First off, we've been talking about how GameFound and BackerKit have been trying to up their own game in terms of the backing a project. But also, Kickstarter has had a bunch of their own issues. In an interview with Polygon, you can take a look at the article, but it pretty much, the big thing came up of the elephant in the room being blockchain, and pretty much he couldn't say much on it because I don't think he has a say. He can't do anything. If the leaders want to do blockchain, they do, but a lot of people don't like that. I'm pretty sure that's one of the reasons why Gloomhaven left Kickstarter. So it's going to be very hard for him to try and keep the trust of not just backers, but creators as well, when he is given so little power. Of course, we're going to have to see. Maybe he can help add some more designs to help not only the backers in terms of add-ons and weird things like that, but also more ways for the creators to spread their information of their new projects. I really hope they give him some power to bring some positive change to the platform. Not because I feel Kickstarter is bad in particular, but right now, Kickstarter is in very turbulent times as there is a lot of change happening in the world of crowdfunding, and with GameFound and BackerKit rising up as new rivals, they're going to have to bring something new to the table if they wish to keep the crown. A final note for those who will be attending Essen this year, masks will be mandatory again. However, this year, vaccination will not. There will not be checking it through a passport or anything like that. Just wear a good mask. That said, I want to alert anyone who's heard this that apparently the region where Essen takes place, it might be announcing new or changed regulations to COVID safety. I think it was the end of September. So double check again, because if the area adds new laws and new regulations that might change what Essen has to do, this is, this is always the problem with these conventions, depending on where it's located. Even in the United States, what state it's in may change what they're allowed to or not allowed to do. So keep that in mind. But as of now, masks are going to be the only thing that is mandatory at Essen. Now on to announcements. Pandasaurus has a bunch of new titles released. First off, there's Orichalcum. This is from Bruno Cathala, in a game in which you play as Atlanteans, and unfortunately doom has come for you, so you need to find a new island to settle on. You will race against your opponents in order to gain victory points, kill all the monsters on the island, and prove you found the best place to start a new civilization. Then we also have 2 new expansions. First one is for the Sobek 2-player titled Treasures of the Pharaoh, which includes these very powerful Pharaoh tiles, but they're also very dangerous. And then from the loop, we also have the Fur Brigade, which adds a new dog and cat player for you to play as well as some fun new mechanics and new artifacts for you in order to defeat Dr. Foe. Z-Man Games announced a new game called Challengers. This is titled as a deck management game. It seems to be you're trying to build up your deck, which is your team for this, as they say, the most epic game of capture the flag with crazy characters such as superheroes, rubber ducks, and krakens. So very much that spirit of Smash Up and just throwing everything in there. And it says it goes from 1 to 8 players. So I'm really curious to see how this game is designed and how it works, whether you want to play solo or if you have a large group of friends. Then we actually have, what I was surprised to hear, some new expansions for the Dark Souls board game. This was made a while back, and I didn't know that anything else was made for a while, so to me this is new. We've got 2 new expansions. The first one is the Tomb of the Giants, and the second one is the Painted World of Aramis. I don't know what to expect here, if this is just them finishing off some things that they said they're going to do, or maybe just some elements from the original Dark Souls that they felt needed to be filled, or is this a sign that we should expect more from software from Steamforged Games? Dominion has a new expansion, this one titled Plunder, and by the art and name you could probably guess it's all about raiding the seas in order to get more loot. Warhammer has a bunch of stuff coming up, including a bunch of demons, new Killzone expansion, but the big thing I think that people would be interested in is they're going to make a new RPG with Cubicle 7. This is going to be based on the Warhammer 40k, if that wasn't clear enough, and I think that's pretty cool and it's going to be very fun because that world is just a lot of fun stuff going on in it. I'm really curious to see how this RPG captures that and whether it has you play specifically as Imperium or whether they're going to let you just go all out in what you can be. Finally, trading card games, I think a lot of the major ones all have a new set coming out. Magic the Gathering has the Brothers War, which we already sort of knew about, but we've seen some more pictures of products. Pokemon has Silver Tempest, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has Amazing Defenders, and Digimon has my personal poison, Dimensional Phase. Now, I am curious though, because I'm pretty sure all 3 of those are released earlier in Japan, so I'm wondering how much of this is new news or just we have now the English names. And now it's time for Kickstarter Pickstarter. Let's see what products are on Kickstarter or any other platform that may be enticing to you. First off, we're not going to be on Kickstarter. We're going to go to BackerKit. This is for 2 games, Fugitive and Run. Both games designed by Tim Fowers are sort of deduction games in different ways. Fugitive will have you be playing head-to-head, playing numbered cards, trying to get to number 42 before you're caught by the marshal, while Run has the same idea of being hunted by the other player, but this time you will have boards with hidden movement, with the runner trying to run around the board and find stashes, which will hopefully help them evade the dispatcher, the other player, who of course is in a helicopter patrolling above the streets and may be able to call some backup to try and help them catch the runner. This looks like a really fun game that's also very appealing with the art style, and of course all that ties together with the theme of the cat and mouse game between the criminal and the cops. Now, if you just want Fugitive, that is $25, Run is $33, but through this BackerKit project right now, you can get them both for $50. Now, the previous game was going head-to-head in turn trying to deduce what your opponent is doing. This one, you'll be working together in order to deduce what exactly happened last night. In Almost Innocent, you are playing as a group of adventurers who got a bit too drunk last night at the tavern, woke up all arrested, and being charged with a crime that you have no memory of. Each player will have only some clues of to what happened last night, and using a storyboard which has a grid of symbols as well as suspects, you're going to have to work together in order to piece together your clues in order to truly find out what happened last night. In addition, there seems to be a story campaign going on as well, so each puzzle will not just be a puzzle but something that connects everything together, so I'm really curious to see how this plays out. Now, this one, once again, similar to the price of the other ones, you can get for just $30. Freely Publishing is back with a new RPG, or rather bringing back an old one. Dragon's Bane, or something in Scandinavian that I do not dare say and butcher, is an RPG from over 40 years ago that is being brought back to life, as well as being brought back in English, a language I can actually passably speak. Now, this RPG looks like it has many classic elements, but as well as a bit more of a humorous twist here and there. And like I said, it's Freely Publishing. They always seem to hit it out of the park, and I'm really curious to see if this really is designed to feel much more Scandinavian in its design, and maybe some more unique monsters rather than the usual things. There's nothing wrong with a dragon, especially on the cover. I really like to see if it can stand out and have some more unique elements rather than be just your generic medieval style campaign and world. That said, I know one of the drawings shows a rogue duck, so that's a good start. Now, the digital version of this is for $24 about, and while the physical box set will start off around $38. Finally, we have a big campaign game titled Kinsfire Chronicles Nightfall. This is a large adventure campaign game that's designed to be quick to play and set up. It has a lot of cool art and pictures. You play as these heroes known as Seekers that I love the designs for. In particular, I must admit I'm a fan of Core with the cute little moth buddy. That's not to ignore the rest, which I think all have fantastic designs. The thing that really caught my eye was the pedigree that's following this. It's got people who worked on Descent, Witcher 3, and the Arcane League of Legends show. So that means we've got great games and story people taking part in this. You can get the base game for Kinsfire for $99, but if you want to deluxify it, you've got some higher pledge levels for those premium components. This is where we're going to end it for this week. Let me know your thoughts on any of the news stories. If you're going to be at Essen, if you play the Dragon Prince RPG and are happy about Direwolf being able to continue that, you can let me know in those comments down below. I'm very excited to hear from all of you, but thank you so much for making it this far. Of course, don't forget the usual stuff, the like, subscribe, the bell, YouTube likes, that kind of stuff. And if you think a friend would be interested in any of these stories, please share with them. But for now, I'm Will, and this has been Roll for Crit.